The challenge of having high ability, low ability all in one classroom has never changed. That's the one thing about education, public schools, that hasn't changed.
One of these, it's by the refrigerator.
We are the advocates. We are the voices for all children. I think that's what public education is about.
Sometimes we have to remind ourselves we're a public school. We have to meet everyone's needs, whether you're high ability or you're struggling in the classroom. And to do that, I think that's our challenge every day.
So, do you want that on this one or do you want it on the next slide?
The kids I work with have a lot of diverse needs. Some of my students have learning disabilities, some of my students have mental handicap, other students are dealing with a behavior disorder.
60% of our students have been dealing with some sort of mental health issue, anxiety, depression. We've got about 40% of our students that have admitted to some sort of substance abuse issue.
We have the ADHD kids, I have OCD kids. You know, there's just lots of different things that kids are dealing with now that I didn't have to deal with when I first started teaching.
We have students that are coming in from refugee camps all over the world, and some of them have good coping skills and some not so good.
We have over 15 languages that would be spoken by students and families.
One of the best things about my school is there are a bunch of different cultures that come here. A girl in my class, she's from Iraq, and one of my friends is Cambodian, and then there's a girl in the class next to me, and she is Chinese.
We also have a variety of cultures: Hispanic, Vietnamese, Arabic, Sudanese, Native American, African American.
We have a population in our school of Marshallese students, which is a unique language. There's no resources in Nebraska to help teach transition from the Marshallese language to the English language.
So many times we think of poverty being lack of financial resources, but really there's a lot of impoverished children who lack a lot of resources, and that's my definition of poverty is not having access to resources, whether that be mentors, support systems, physical resources, shelter, food, those types of things.
I have kids right now that are homeless. I have kids that don't have enough to eat every night. The poverty is just unbelievable. And it isn't that people aren't working. It isn't that people aren't trying. They're stressed to the max.
Rural poverty is a topic that a lot of people don't talk about, and partially I think it's because oftentimes rural poverty, we all look the same, and is not maybe as distinguishing. Our free and reduced lunch rate is over 40% in this district, which you might think, wow, I never would have thought of that.
It's so much easier when you have enough to eat every night. It's so much easier when you have parents that come to every conference and are there for you all the time. It's just all so much easier for those kids to have their intellect raised.
If you're from a low-income family, if you're from a high-income, high-educated family, it doesn't really matter, because in the end, we're a public school. We're here to serve all children and all families, and we do everything we can to do that for every single student.
In the elementary setting, a teacher may have 20 students in their classroom, and they can definitely meet individualized needs of 20 students. At the middle school, when I taught, I had 6 sections of students, up to 30 students in each section. So it became more difficult to meet those individualized needs. I was on a team of teachers, and we were able to meet as a team every day and address concerns. When students then move into the high school, you're looking at even larger numbers, which makes meeting those individualized needs difficult.
It's as challenging as the word is, individualized. It's a one-on-one. What works for this student doesn't work here. The needs for this student need to be met. Completely different from another.
It's up to the teacher to truly get to know her students or his students and see the needs. Many times after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, you're able to see children who might be excelling or children who are struggling, maybe academically, maybe with behavior issues.
Many times the first step is the teacher will try their own interventions, and I try to work with the teachers on some just basic ideas. And then we also have our student assistance team.
We have what we call a SAT process, which is a process where we have our teachers, our parents, an administrator, we come together and we try to sit down and provide some strategies on different ways that we can help our student become successful.
And we work together as a team to help implement those interventions, and we come back together as a team and determine whether the student is showing some success, some progress.
We'll see students that maybe need a lot of reteaching, and then we see some students that kind of fall in the middle, like where they need just a little bit reteaching, but maybe not that extensive. And then we also see students that are really high achieving, so not only like gifted students, but students that are performing at the same level on these tests as the gifted students.
For me, it's interesting to find out when did that switch turn? And typically we see that in middle school, and we can see it by test scores. By their 8th grade test scores, a student that in 5th grade or even 7th grade was scoring in the 90th percentile, all of a sudden by 8th grade, we're just bubbling in answers because maybe we're bored, or we've had family situations that have happened. But middle school really seems to be the turning point for a lot of our kids.
At Chatham Middle School, we do a pretty extensive goal setting. The goal setting basically includes the teacher sitting down with each student in every one of their classes and saying, okay, so here's your fall MAP score. You scored 220 in reading. NWA says you need to grow 4 points, and what do you think you're going to be able to grow? And more times than not, kids say, I'm going to grow 20. Through that process, they talk to the students about, okay, so if you really want to grow these 20 points, what are you going to have to do to make this happen? And during that conversation, they sit down, they talk about getting homework done, paying attention in class, coming to school every day, being on time, all those kind of things that seem pretty obvious, but it's good just to speak it. It's good just to voice it, because then it becomes kind of at the forefront of your consciousness, because it doesn't take much, for that to slip, especially, when you get to middle school and kids get busy with sports and social lives change and hormones take over. And, middle school is a tough time, and kids slip.
When kids are identified later in junior high and not elementary school, it is a lot of times because of one of the two big areas. Either their math they struggle with that, or their reading. And if it's their reading, that really makes it a struggle for them, because reading is, then you struggle in science, you struggle in Nebraska studies or civics, you struggle across the board because you read in every class.
So Spot said the girls...
The philosophy used to be, oh, well, they needed to fail for 3 or 4 years and then we'd do something. Well, by then, they've given up, maybe.
You want to go. Are you finished?
If you look at the people in our prisons, the majority of them are poor readers and failed early on. So it's really important for society to really find out where these kids are at and get them interventions now, particularly in the area of reading. And we know reading is so vital. It's the window to everything.
Heat. Wheat. Seat.
I think the biggest thing is the language deficit they come in with, maybe vocabulary, for example. Many kids who might have more are maybe read to more often or have more literacy in their home. And some of the kids that we have at our school maybe didn't have those types of opportunities. So they come in to us in kindergarten with a deficit in their vocabulary.
And if they're behind, we want to have them learning at a steeper learning curve, because if they're going to catch up with their peers, they've got to learn even faster.
They know that they're not, up to a certain level like a lot of their classmates. And so that's, it's very intimidating for them, and they feel insecure about it. Each teacher has a copy of all of the reading levels. And then from those scores, we're able to determine which kids really need extra reading help. And that's where I come in. Every day they have a new book. Every day we have new phonics skills. So we work with these kids in very small groups every single day. We do see results.
And I think so, said Maxie.
At least when they're in our room, they can feel like they've accomplished something. They can feel good about themselves. And I think in order to do well, they have to feel good about themselves too.
C. So you're close, but what that means...
Really, it's about hope and confidence. It's like, let's give you another opportunity. I know you're not doing well in math. That's okay. So we're going to give you an extra hour with a supportive adult in a small group environment and say, you can do this.
We have an achievement center here that anybody can visit. It's a room in every building that kids can go throughout the day, any kid.
It's like a study hall where you get your homework done, you can read, and the teachers simplify like the questions and stuff.
They can get help from paras, they can get help from regular ed teachers are staffed in there during the day. We have special education staff in there during the day.
We're really trying to dig beneath the surface of maybe what regular classroom teachers are able to get to just because they have 20, 25 kids in a class. So we're saying to that Achieve teacher, we want you to really get to know this kid and really be a liaison for this kid.
So it just tells kids that we all struggle in different areas and come and get help when you need it, and we're all in this together and we want to help each other out.
I think oftentimes special education is sort of a safety net we can offer our kids who otherwise wouldn't have options for maybe the academic or even social skills support that they might need.
Students in special education have IEPs, which is an individualized education plan where they set goals and it's reviewed every year.
We've started our student-led IEPs.
I shared my IEP on a big smart board. My education goals: graduate from high school with a couple of the teachers and my parents around so that they can grasp what I need to know.
They get up in front of all their teachers and the principal and their moms and dads and say, I have a specific learning disability.
I struggle in science and math and social studies.
The student is telling them what I need to be a learner in this school, and it's awesome.
It made a difference for me because I can understand what I need and I know my differences.
My role in the school is to help students with any communication needs, be it not saying sounds correctly or having any type of language deficit, for example, not understanding what words mean, not able to communicate orally. I also work with children who have no means of verbal communication and need maybe an alternate means of communication.
Danny started pre-K here. He has some autistic tendencies. The teachers have found ways to get to him to trigger positive things to come out of him. His vocabulary words have increased a lot.
It's the hair. It's called a razor. My goal is to get them out of special education before they go to middle school. That doesn't always happen. We have kids that have learning disabilities or some significant language impairments that are going to probably impact their learning for the rest of their lives, and they'll need that support.
They're a little bit more. And number 3. We have many, many gifted kids at schools like Clinton and Everett. The difference is that they have so many things in their lives that hold down their academic performance. And oftentimes those gifted kids fall through the cracks.
Maya, do you think this is pretty silly?
High ability learners, or HAL, is kind of the acronym for it, is the same thing as gifted and talented. Basically what it is it's those students who exhibit kind of an excellence, either in an academic area or also like in the arts.
So I work with great teachers. I tell them how to identify gifted kids. What do they look like? What do they sound like?
And then they put kids into groups and decide, here's the high-performing group. What are we going to do with them? We're not going to keep teaching the same skill. They've got it. And then what strategy are we going to use to address that?
I have 2 daughters, and they are in 2nd and 3rd grade. I know they are smart. They could read, write before they started kindergarten. And also they are quick learners. But I didn't know they were gifted learners, but their kindergarten teacher, Mrs. McCann's, and the assistant principal, Ms. Luthke, they wanted them to be tested for gifted learners. And then they passed the evaluation.
I like how I can go to diff math and I can learn during math, and I can learn harder stuff that was above my level. And in reading, I get to do other activities that are also above my level.
So it's a gifted literature class or a gifted math class. And they just say diff, which is shortened for differentiation.
Today we did number 24, doing negative and positive numbers up to 24. We also played really hard games called Stratego, Pente.
The gifted program they are in is giving them the opportunity to learn, to explore, and to expand their knowledge in different fields, like beyond the regular grade level curriculum. So it's a great program.
Really, what we try to do is extend the curriculum, through extracurricular activities. That's primarily what our HAL program is here. There's opportunities for, accelerated programs. Like at the middle school, for example, we have students who come into 5th grade, they're already in 6th grade math, so they just go into the 6th grade math class and they move through. And so that's kind of what it looks like here. It's either extension or acceleration, of our kind of regular programming.
My daughter is very bright. Every teacher she's ever had recognized that right away. What I'd like them to know is that's not always an advantage. If you're labeled immediately intelligent, they say, oh, you're bright, you should be getting this. And what if she's not getting it? And then she's afraid to ask questions.
What I want is
The middle college program is designed for high-ability learners who have not found success in the traditional school. It is an alternative program for the Omaha Public Schools, and we serve approximately 60 students every year in a smaller learning environment on the UNO campus.
Joey kept missing school. He skipped school consistently, and grades were low because of his attendance. And I talked to him about it.
I kind of suffered from a lot of depression issues and stuff. Freshman year, I lost my cousin. And after that, my family kind of fell apart. And sophomore year was kind of that year where I was oh, all my friends are starting to do all this fun stuff. And I was just I'm just not in the mood to do anything. So I kind of just stayed home. And I guess you could say initially dropped out.
So I kind of started looking into his test scores and his assessments from, elementary on up. And I'm like, geez, Joey is so bright. He's got so much potential there. So what else can we do?
I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to get done with school just so I can figure out the rest of my life. And I actually talked to my guidance counselor, Miss Donahoe, and she referred me to this program, and I kind of kickstarted everything. It's just more of just seeing the brighter future, I guess, and hoping for the best.
You got those two to start with.
We have a full-time math, English, and social studies teacher, and we have a visiting science teacher. So we teach all core classes that students need for graduation, and then our teachers, our English and social studies teacher, also offer electives.
Ricky would share how much he struggled.
The teachers are too busy because they got so many kids to work with, so it's hard for them to try to really help one individual student.
And how he would get bored, how he wasn't challenged, how he needed something more to get him going and to motivate him.
Since coming in the middle of college, actually, since I be able to get a head start more on my classes and actually get a head start on college, I'm closer to graduating, which then I'll be able to focus on more classes to help me with my careers.
I'm a firm believer that if you don't have a goal in mind, high school can be kind of meaningless. And so even, for our kids that are thinking they want to go straight to the workforce and they want to be a carpenter or whatever, then we look at the courses that will help prepare them for that. And if I sit down with them individually and say, okay, if you want to be a doctor, we need to double up on sciences certain years. We may need to double up on math, and try and have that goal in mind.
Our counselor, Mrs. Heinrichs, is really great at helping us discover what career we kind of want to go into and what classes would be helpful for us to get into.
I think there's kind of the mindset that college is only for the brainiacs and only for the people with money.
And then the ones who are struggling with GPA and with grades, sometimes they just get intimidated by the process of education, by the process of college applications. They don't have anybody who's done it before them, so they don't have a clue of what to expect or what to do.
And according to Education Quest, they've told us that the most important thing we can do is to get kids on a college campus where they see students that look like them and they can envision that, you know what, that maybe could be me.
The classes that they can take, we pay for the tuition and books for those classes. And so it's almost in essence a scholarship before they even graduate from high school because they take them as high school students. They also will get a high school credit and the college credit, so they start their college transcript.
By the time I graduate from high school, I'll have all but 6 credits I need for finishing my freshman year of college, and I'll be able to take those over the summer.
What started with a phone call to Chadron State College turned into an ACES dual credit program for schools throughout Nebraska to work with the state college system. This is very affordable college credits. For a low-income family, for that student to be able to get some college success while they're still surrounded by this high school family of, the staff that they're familiar with and their peers, that investment of success that they're having, I think is going to carry over and transition where not only now have we provided them a tour to see a college campus, to see a dorm room, to eat in a cafeteria, but they have college credits.
I got accepted into the RHOT program at CSC, which is Rural Health Opportunities Program. I got accepted into the nursing branch, so I will have a free tuition at CSC, and then I will have a guaranteed spot at University of Nebraska Medical Center, and in hopes to become a nurse practitioner.
I don't know if the larger public really understands how big of a job public education really is, because it is more than just academics.
The teachers at all of the schools are working so hard, and they meet and they talk about every student and what can we do to help every single one of these individual kids get where they need to be.
Unfortunately, sometimes it's not easy to get to everybody because, like in my caseload, I have 345 kids assigned to me. I try to meet with every kid that's missed 10 days. I try to call them in when I notice they're failing classes, but with 345, it's pretty tough.
It's tough to think of those ones that we might have missed. And all we can do is continue to tell our story and show that there's not just one way to get to that end goal, that life isn't always this straight path, that sometimes we take detours and sometimes we need different pathways to get to where we need to be.
Before we judge and think that every single kid can earn 100% on a certain test, that they need to realize the background of these kids. A lot of these kids go to bed without food in their stomachs. A lot of them come to school without food. A lot of them come from, all these hellacious different backgrounds that we never consider as factors into this equation of doing well on a test. And it's too bad that a test score is going to determine how much support these kids get.
I mean, I love the kids that I work with, and I've never worked with one that wants to fail. They all want somebody to believe in them. And I think their families want somebody to believe in them. And I just wish the average citizen would understand that and also be part of the village to help these kids by getting out there and being mentors for kids or volunteering with the different programs that are out there. There are so many kids that need other caring adults to stand by their side and support them. So that's what I would want everybody out there to know, that step up, help our kids out, they need you.